So thank you very much for joining me on the Building Your Career podcast. I've got Stephen and Sam from the Learning and Development team. So I suppose if I just start at the beginning, could you just tell us a little bit more about your role in the Learning and Development team and exactly what you do at McLaren?
Yeah, no problem. So I'm Head of Learning and Development at McLaren. So that includes kind of working with the business to align priorities to make sure we're supporting them to achieve strategic objectives. I mean, L&D kind of is well known now for supporting business performance. Mm-hmm. So it's really a case of working with the senior leadership team and stakeholders right across the business to make sure we're kind of delivering alongside what's going to help them with their performance. So we're doing lots of managers development programs and leadership development. We're doing quite a bit around the new legislation that's come in with the Building Safety Act. So a lot of competence stuff as well.
Okay, brilliant. And Stephen, if you could just introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm the Learning and Development Business Partner at McLaren. So primarily brought on obviously to support all the L&D initiatives that Sam has created, but I've got a big focus on early talent. Mm-hmm. One of my major objectives when I first joined the business a year and a half ago was setting up and building the McLaren apprenticeship program for the existing apprentices in the business, but also those that were going to be entering the business as new entrants onto their programs.
And could you tell us a little bit more about the apprenticeship program? You know exactly how it works?
So through my other roles that I've journeyed on throughout my career, I've sort of taken the best bits and sort of amalgamated all the other programs that I've been involved with into the McLaren apprenticeship program. So essentially it's made up of, I think, 4 or 5 core appointments that, don't I use this word, mandatory for everyone to attend. So one of which is regular one-to-ones with myself. So I offer that to the apprentice and to their line manager, because I feel it's not just, the line manager needs to be supported as well as the apprentice, especially if apprenticeships and apprentices are quite new to their radar. Then it moves on to there's a quarterly workshop, interpersonal skills workshop that is offered to all apprentices across all of the UK. So every 3 months they'll come together. We'll focus on the softer skills, so presentation skills, communication, team building, that sort of things that may be a bit overlooked in their day-to-day, because obviously they're going to be gaining all the technical bits and bobs from their line manager and the people that they work with on a day-to-day basis. So we felt it was really important to focus on that softer side, but also we're also aware of, as they're doing an apprenticeship and they're not doing a full-time course at university or college, that social element may be a bit missing. So we felt it's really important to bring them all together and collaborate, share their knowledge and get a broader scope of the business, really, because obviously we've got a variety of projects that we have in the business, commercial, education, etc. So from that perspective, we thought it was really, really, really good. And all this feeds into the actual qualification that they do as well. So they'll be able to evidence that in their work, build their CPD. So and obviously anything technical, last appointment on the list is anything technical that we identify that will further enhance their position here at McLaren.
Okay, brilliant. And then just back to you, so this is just off the back of what Alex said. He said the site team have been super, super supportive. And for me personally, and speaking to a lot of people on the podcast, that is one thing that if you're at director level or just starting out, to have that support in place in the site team or the kind of the office team is crucial, really. So how have you found that kind of people who have engaged with the kind of the workshops that you're doing, the training that you're doing? Do you generally find that people are supportive in the rest of the office for the trainees and the juniors kind of coming through?
Absolutely. I think we've got such a great team here. It really is a nice place to work, and everybody that you come across is kind of happy to help, happy to get involved. And it is around creating that culture of learning. So one of the campaigns that we're running from the L&D perspective is creating a culture of learning. Mm-hmm. So everything we're doing pins back to that, and that is around behaviours and everything like that as well. So we're doing a lot of work on our environmental social governance, and that's all around people and planet. So all of that stuff, as well as the technical side of things, is where we're kind of working hard as well to make sure that we have got that full rounded experience for everyone. But yeah, I think it's a great place for young people to come actually, and start their careers, definitely.
That's great, because I know one of the kind of the common themes on the podcast is that people always say, just ask questions.
Yeah.
But if you're very much a case of promoting that from day one, and they've even got specific training programs in line with that, then you've got it sorted. People can come on board and kind of naturally get involved with that from the beginning, really, which I think is great.
Yeah, definitely. It is a very collaborative place to be fair, and we do try and foster a culture for these young people of, like you say, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there and suck all that knowledge in. Even treat something that you might not kind of quite enjoy, treat as a learning experience, because that's where you're going to get your best learning from.
Definitely. And I think I might have just given you the answer to the next question there, in terms of don't be afraid to ask questions. But one of the questions I always like to have, and obviously you've dealt with a lot of people who have just started off their journey in construction. So is there any kind of reoccurring themes or any kind of preconceived ideas that people have about the construction industry before they come in, or any advice that you would give to people who are literally just starting off in terms of either how to act or don't be afraid to ask questions? Is there any kind of common theme that runs with all the people that first join?
Yeah, I think as an industry, we've still got a lot of work to do. I've been in the industry quite a long time, so we've always been working on this, trying to spread the word that, construction is a lot more than just putting a spade in the ground and muck and dirt. So I think we have actually got still a big job to do on education of young people, their parents, and also their, education providers as well. If I could offer any words of advice, it would be what I've just said. Don't be afraid to ask questions, be collaborative, throw yourself in at it, because that everybody kind of likes that. But also be authentic, just be yourself, and that's going to get you a long way generally as well.
Brilliant. The same to you, Stephen, and I've kind of thrown that one on you, but is there any advice that you would give to?
Yeah, I mean, just I would say to sort of speak to the right people. Again, with just the recruitment this summer of candidates that I've spoken to, like Sam said, they get pressure from their parents. They want them to go to university, do full-time courses, but essentially they get the same qualification plus the work experience plus professional accreditations attached to apprenticeship. So there's so much more they'll get from those type of courses and qualifications, and that information I just don't think is too readily available at school. So I think it's just about how we can promote ourselves. But just find someone in the industry and ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
I think as well, just to add to that, I think it's worth noting that there's circa 200 roles in the construction industry. And that's things from the digital space, sustainability, commercial management, corporate and social responsibility. So whereas a lot of people do think muck and dirt, there's so much more to it. You've got project management and all of that sort of stuff. So it's a case of use your initiative, go out and research and, find someone to talk to. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And that is one of the biggest myths that we get on the podcast. I remember we had someone from Lend-Lease on, and he was saying he spoke to his grandma, said that he was going to get involved in construction, and she said, well, you're just going to be on a roof all day, putting slates and tiles, and he says, no, I'm going to be a site manager. So that is one of the biggest myths, massively, which we're trying to just get rid of those myths altogether, really. But I think with McLaren then, with a lot of people either not choosing to take the university route for one reason or another, what are the kind of the different career options available in McLaren construction in order to get your foot in the door in terms of education or certifications?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different apprenticeships that Steve could probably talk more about, but from McLaren as a business, we are operating in the UK. We've got offices nationally. We have also got an office in the UAE as well.
Okay,
we operate public-private sector within data centres, industrial and leisure, healthcare, education, commercial, residential, across so many different sectors. So even just from understanding that from a perspective about what can this business offer, or a business like us in the industry, because there's many of them out there that offer that sort of thing, you can see how you can build your career there. And you can experience a lot of different things. You can even take your career abroad if you wanted to as well. So I mean, you could probably talk a little bit more around the...
Yeah, we've actually just launched our T-level scheme this month, actually. Fair enough. I'm not too sure if you...
No. Please tell me more.
So it's a government initiative that got launched last year, actually. So students can do T-levels in place of A-levels. So they're equivalent to 3 A-levels, but so they're it's a 2-year program. The second year is made up of a 45-day industry placement, so I guess it gives them a bit more of a flavour of what the industry that they're gaining their qualification in is like. So we're supporting the design, surveying and planning qualification and the on-site T-level qualification. So we've already recruited 3 this October, and the idea is that we're engaging people more at that entry-level age, and we would want it to progress that those that are on the placements, our placements, that they will hopefully be naturally absorbed into the apprenticeship program. So after they complete that, then they can select whatever pathway they choose. That's the plan. Fingers crossed it will go in the right direction.
Okay, sounds brilliant. And I suppose with the CIOB publishing recently that we need about 250,000 more people in the construction industry by 2027. Obviously there's a big shortage, there needs to be a big push, and that's the whole reason I'm doing this podcast, is just to get the word out and promote the industry a little bit more. But in your opinion, with kind of other companies, whether it's at kind of at director level or from a business-wide perspective, what can businesses do to kind of attract, retain and nurture young talent as well? What is it that businesses can do better in this market?
Well, I think, across the course of time, businesses started to realise, and still are starting to realise, that actually it's not so much about the paycheck these days and how big the paycheck is. Young people come into the industry now, they are all highly motivated by kind of, what we're doing in the sustainability agenda, what we're doing on our diversity agenda, and, how we're looking after the planet, all of that sort of stuff. They are a lot more driven, and around the agile working, that sort of thing. So it's really a case of employers adapting to that sort of side of it as well, which all businesses are starting to do when you look at it.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a big push for it in the market at the moment. But I think there is still a lot of people who don't want to give the information, pass the information down, or pass on the skill sets down. It's very much a case of we're at the top. We are the best. We're not going to pass on any information, which, thankfully those kind of businesses are slowly fading away now. So, we just want to say to our listeners, there is those companies like McLaren who's got that full support and have got your back from day one.
Yeah, really. Absolutely. And you know what? We're happy to partner with people to get the best outcome for the business and the people within it. Do you know what I mean? So we'll be looking at different people that we can work with, different suppliers that we might be able to work with to enhance their experience here as well. So it's about growing them as much as we can, and sharing that amongst our partners. If we get into different collaborations with people, then it's about sharing the expertise, isn't it, for the good of the project and the good of the business.
Sounds great. And the same for you, Stephen. Is what can businesses do differently to attract, retain, and nurture?
I think just from the feedback from our apprentices, they well, this isn't every single one of them, but having that clear progression pathway of what does that pathway look like, and what are the time frames there. We've got some very eager young people in the business. So we've got a very structured program for our commercial and our apprentice QSs in the business. So they've got a competency framework in there, so they know exactly what competencies they need to hit at what time frames at each level of their journey. So what an apprentice QS needs to achieve, what an assistant QS needs to achieve, and so on. So they've got that clear pathway, and it's completely visible. They have 6 monthly assessments they do on themselves with their line manager as well. So they've got that clear guidance. So I think if we could sort of map that out for a lot of our roles, I think that would be a really good tool that businesses could use. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's an awesome bit of advice. And just wanted to say thank you very much for both being guests on the podcast.
Well, thank you.
There are great companies out there like McLaren who want to give you all the training and development from day one, and we've heard from the trainees themselves that you do what you say you're going to do. So thank you very much for being guests.
Thank you.
No worries, thanks for having us.
Take care.